Hey guys, I got a request to discuss how to house tropical tarantulas, specifically the Theraphosa's. How do you keep the humidity up where it needs to be, the heat, and all that sort of jazz. So I'm going to explain my setup here. This is just a 10-gallon aquarium here, and or in this case I'm using it as a vivarium. But what I do is, in order to keep the humidity inside the enclosure, I pour water in the substrate and let the substrate soak it up. Now, you don't want your substrate to be so sopping wet that if you were to squeeze a bunch of it in your hand, it's dripping. You don't want it dripping wet, but you do want it damp. Now, you can see the different, like how it's darker down here. That means that you got some good humidity going in there. Perhaps I could add a little bit more. You also want a full water dish. Some people like to use sphagnum moss, peat moss. That's what this is right here. This is really good at keeping your humidity levels up where it needs to be. Now, some people are really particular at how they keep their temperatures and their humidity levels up, where they actually have a what's it called, a hydrometer, or I forgot what it's called, but it's the little thing that tests your humidity, gives you a percentage of how much your humidity is, and then they watch that carefully. I, on the other hand, do not watch mine carefully. It's in most cases, it is safe to say that if you are comfortable, your tarantula is comfortable as far as the temperature goes. So in the winter time, since winter is coming up, I usually keep the house, we don't like it too hot in the house, so I usually in the winter time keep it around 72, something like that. But at the same time, I also keep a space heater running, so that way my tarantulas stay warm. You don't want them to get too cold. If you notice that your tarantulas aren't really moving around much, they just kind of sit there and don't do much, that could be that they're too cold and their metabolism slows down. So the warmer your room, the more active they are. So anyway, if you have a full water dish, and if your substrate is somewhat damp, then you should be fine. My tarantulas have never had a problem that needed this kind of setup. The moss there is just to ensure that the humidity stays up better. You don't have to have that if you don't want to. I just do it as an extra precaution to make sure it stays up where it needs to be. Now, keep in mind, this type of enclosure here does not hold humidity in very well. That's the only thing I don't like about these. They're great display tanks because they're clear, unlike the plastic tub containers, which you can't really see through very well. But those keep humidity in better. So what you can do is to use the clearer tanks like this. On top of the lid here, you can't really see it, but you can cover part of the lid with tape, like this is, or saran wrap. So this on all the way over here is covered up with saran wrap, and this part here is the air holes, and so that way it does keep the humidity in very well. Now occasionally, I still have to put water in, because like if you start noticing that that's drying up too much, that means you need to add more water to your substrate. So that's what I do. Let's see. Let me show you a difference. Okay, you see how it's a little dry up there? I need to add a little more water. It's a little dry right there, but see, there's pretty good. Okay, now let's go look at my other enclosure and I'll show you the difference. Now here is my plastic container that has these kind of things used to keep it locked up really good. These are great at keeping in humidity. Notice that the cocoa fiber substrate I have here, is very damp. I mean, like I said, it's not sopping wet, but it's very damp. It's damper than my other enclosure substrate. And that is because of this plastic. It just holds in the humidity so much better. Of course, the downside, like I said, is that, see how cloudy that is? Not only is that just the condensation, but it's just, that's the material. So that's the only problem with using those. I have air holes on the top and on the sides all around here. Full water dish. Now, I do not have any moss in here because it keeps humidity just fine. Now, some people add vermiculite to their cocoa fiber. I do not. You can if you want to. Some people seem to think that that helps keep in humidity. But I do just fine without it. Another word of warning. When you have tropical species, you need to watch out extra for parasites like mites. Mites love dampness, so you need to be extra diligent in making sure that you remove the leftover food in here. There might be one right there actually. So usually when I open up enclosures, I pick up leftovers, leftover food, or any dead prey you see laying around, and I shine a light on the substrate, and I kind of dig in there a little bit, and I look for these little white things. If you see these little white yellowish things, they're mites. Now, somebody may have to help me on this. There are some mites out there I've heard that are actually good, like your cleaner mites maybe, but then there's some that can actually harm your tarantula, so you really have to be careful about that. So that's the downside of having to keep tarantulas in damp enclosures like this, is that they're more susceptible to getting parasites. What you could do as a prevention is to buy like these little roly-poly bugs. I think they're also called pill bugs. You can put them in there, and they're really good about cleaning out mold. That's another problem, not only the mites, but when you have a damp enclosure, you can also get mold in there. Mold is very harmful to your tarantula as well. It can get in their book lungs and do damage there. So, well, while I'm rambling, I might as well feed this one again. They never complain about eating. So, as you can see, this is my medium-sized Theraphosa sturmey. Feed them a little extra than I do the other tarantulas because they're bigger. But yes, these are definitely not recommended for beginners, by the way, because of the extra maintenance that's required for these tropical species. Now these particular ones live in like the swamplands, so they definitely prefer it damp. So I get some more crickets here before they end up dying on me. I have crickets, they just don't last long at all. I think that's it. Like I said, you can look online for percentages and stuff like that if you want to get particular on how everything's all measured and stuff, but I honestly don't even keep up with all that. My house is comfortable. Sometimes it can get a little cold because we just like it that way. But I keep the tarantulas in the warmer part of the house, and also in the wintertime I have that extra space heater in addition to the central air that's going on in the house, and that helps. So you don't want to overdo it with the heat either, but like I said, if you're comfortable, more than likely the tarantula's pretty comfortable too. So I hope that helps. Feel free to write me if I didn't answer your question well enough, but this is just what I do, and this is what works for me. People may do it in different ways, but this is pretty, average, what people usually do. But yeah, I always check my enclosures to make sure I don't see any mites in there. Because if you do, you gotta clean it out. You gotta get rid of them. So I decided to stop using wood caves, especially the ones that require extra humidity, because they mold so easily. So it's better to use like either plastic like this, You know, I prefer to have dirt on top of it to make it give more of that cave feel, but a lot of it fell off. But a lot of people use cork bark as well. It doesn't mold nearly as fast as wood does, like regular wood. You know, those wood caves that you usually see in pet stores. So anyway, so I hope that answers your question. Anybody who would like to add anything, please feel free to leave a comment, because I'm pretty sure I missed something. But yeah, I've never had any trouble with my Theraphosas molting. They've all molted successfully so far in my care. So I must be doing something right, right? If all three of them are thriving. Now this one's never molted for me, but the other two have. And I know sometimes molts can go bad even if you have everything right, you know, so don't get me wrong on that. But if most of the time your tarantulas are molting right, then you must have everything right in their little environment. So, and there is plenty of room in this enclosure for this tarantula to roam around. This one's probably the most spazzo of all three of my Theraphosas. This one goes crazy. As soon as I start opening the lid, it just goes all over the place like that. Alright, so I guess that's all for now. Now I'm going to, let's see, I think I have more crickets here. Since these are pretty small crickets, that's why, I mean, they're medium size, that's why she's getting so many of them, and I'm just trying to get rid of a lot of them, you know, because they're probably going to die off on me pretty soon anyway, so that's another reason. And you could tell that to her. She is not complaining. Alright, well, we'll put the lid back on, and that is all for now. Let's check on my Kochiana brunnipes. I want you to see what my freshly molted tea looks like. Here's my Kochiana brunnipes, freshly molted. Well, it's been a few days now for it to harden up. But this is a dwarf, so therefore it did mature quickly. This is a mature male. It has the bulbous pedipalps, and it has tibial hooks, as you can see. So I just wanted to show you what that one looks like now, as a freshly molted immature male. I had to kind of lift all that stuff up because it kept wanting to hide, and I was like, no, we need to see your beauty. But yes, very nice. So there he is. He would have hardened up by now, so I'm going to put a little cricket in there for him to eat. Hold on just a second. Well, there he is. He definitely likes to hide. See if I can get him to eat. Nope, he doesn't want to eat right now. Isn't he precious? Look at that. Oh. He was crawling on my hand off camera. You can easily see those tibial hooks there, the bulbous pedipalps. So, if any of you guys would like to mate your female with my male, let me know, and maybe we can work a deal out. But keep in mind, like I said, I need you in the United States, and I need to know you pretty well. So, look at that cute little walk. There you can see his bulbous pedipalps real well now. Tibial hooks. Isn't that cute? Look at that. And you know how big this little guy is? This guy is only 2.5 inches, and he's already matured. Hold on, he's getting in a bad spot. So yes, they, just like my Hitherothala villicella, that's already matured as well. Now we have another mature male dwarf. Did your cricket escape? I was watching you so closely I may have let your cricket go. Alright, well, we'll let this guy chill out, and I may have to put another little cricket in there. Alright, nice looking fellow, huh? Alright, we'll move on to something else. I was gonna do a handling vid of my Euophlys species blue, but he or she just went ballistic. So that will be a no. But I will go ahead and maybe give him something to eat, because he kind of looked like he was wanting to eat. So let's see. See, like I said, I always test the moods of my tarantulas before I even attempt to handle them. Because you just never know. A typically docile species can just turn Mr. Hyde on you in no time. So it's just, where did that cricket go? Oh, there he is. It's just better to always test their mood. Yeah, I figured he was hungry, but I didn't want him to munch on my finger, so. Yeah, he's a good eater. He or she. Alright, well, you got a little bonus of cricket today. How about that? Blue, real dark colored blue femurs. Nice. Alright, let's see if I could get another tea to let me hold them. And here's my very nice Grammostola porteri, the Chilean rose, the normal color form. Some people still call them the rosea. This is my favorite girl. I called her in a good enough mood to handle her today. Some days she wouldn't allow it, and days like today she's allowing it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, isn't she beautiful? You can see how big she is in comparison to my hand. Not quite full grown yet. Another molt or two, she should be full grown. But yeah, just love that shiny pink carapace. She's a darling. These are the kind you see in the pet stores most of the time. But from what I've heard, I don't think they're going to be as easy to acquire as much as they used to be. Something about not allowed to cross border or something. I don't know. Unless I'm just thinking of the bee smithy. But since there's already so many that have been bred and will continue to breed, I'm not really worried about running out of these. But yeah, beautiful. Yeah, she's a darling. Always keep a close eye on her or any teas chelicerae, because you just never know if something is spooking them. So she's a little cautious, but otherwise quite laid back right now. Hello. There's a good light. Yeah, that's my girl. Now teas like these definitely do not require a big setup, because these are pet rocks right here. This particular species isn't really as adventurous compared to other species out there. So they just kind of sit there. I mean, occasionally you might catch them bulldozing and, you know, taking a drink or whatever, but they just sit there a lot of times. She's got her chelicerae spread just barely, but not enough to be concerned about right now. She's beautiful. So even on my hand, she's not really adventurous. Atta girl. I know. It'll be okay. Mama's got you. Yep. Even these tarantulas are my babies. Yeah, she gonna let me pet her. Yeah. See, look at that. Just do it gently. Yeah. There you go, see? That's a sweet girl. There. Everything's okay. I think for your trouble, I'll offer you a cricket too, even though you're not one of my best eaters. I'll tell you a cute little story with her. One time, I caught her sitting in her water dish, and she had her chelicerae spread open, and I'm like, what is she doing? I mean, I wasn't doing anything with her, and she was just sitting there like that. And she was kind of standing up high a little bit. You know how tarantulas almost look like they're standing on their tippy toes? She was doing that and had her fangs open. I was like, what is she upset about? And lo and behold, I looked in her enclosure, and there was a beetle in there, a pupated worm. A pupated superworm beetle was in there. So she was not a happy camper that beetle was in there with her. So needless to say, I took it out, and then she was happy after that. So if you ever notice your teas doing strange things that you're not used to seeing them do, you might want to look inside your enclosure, because you might see something in there that, like your substrate could be too wet, or there's, like I said, a bug in there they don't want in there, mites, whatever. Yeah. So just check it out and see what's going on with your tea. Would you like a cricket for your trouble? Yeah, I know. It's okay. Alright, I'm going to put her back and see if she'll eat a cricket for her trouble. Well, say goodbye to her. I'm going to put her away now, but I'm going to offer her a cricket first for her troubles, and like I said, I'm trying to get rid of some of these anyway. She may or may not take it, you never know with these. But there it is in case she does. Alright. Well, you enjoy, girl. Alright, let's see who else would like to come out for a little visit.